blockchain and payments, and he's going to have a lovely conversation about how you can manage your mind load.
Hello all. So instead of talking about how to be sort of successful, I suppose, I'm going to talk about how to deal with failure. Because in this role, you're going to have good months and you're going to have bad months. And understanding failure and learning from it and not making those mistakes again, as well as managing your stress load, which is incredibly important, is really important for your life. So I'm just going to be brutally honest and just speak about my experiences here. So I've had a pretty eclectic career. I started as a sales engineer for Dell computers. I moved on to designing blockchains for sub-Saharan African governments, including Uganda and Somalia, which was a very interesting experience, to say the least, dealing with some incredibly smart people that didn't really know how to run a business, but knew how to stop money laundering, which was pretty interesting. And then I decided to move to Australia and start a medical marijuana company, so that was pretty dope. Sorry, couldn't resist that one. But the universe decided to kick me in the face, and I ended up literally living on my dad's floor, living off Boots meal deals. And it was a pretty savage fall from grace, if I'm brutally honest. And it was a tough time. I was stressed, my mental health went down, and out of the blue, well, kind of out of the blue, I got a call from a then plucky young recruiter called Tara from Venetrix, and after well over an hour of negotiation, because I really didn't want to go. But she made me go, and I did, and the next thing I knew, I was in a job. I had a good job. I know, right? And at a Judopay, and I threw myself into it. I had more control over my life. I had the ability to sort of craft my own destiny again, which was great for me. And that novelty sort of really hit me. I was stress-free compared to my previous situation, and life was good. And my targets reflected that. My results reflected that. I was right at the top of the list. I had something to really throw my energy into, and it was all going rather well. So, as a result of the success, you get a little bit more push targets, you have more responsibility, and I failed. Full-blown failed. Like, my targets I went from hitting 120% of my target to hitting 40% of my target in a month. And it was just, like, savage, if I'm brutally honest. And, yeah, I just buckled under stress, being brutally honest. And I was rubbish at handling it, and it sort of became this vicious cycle. The more stressed I became, the more sort of I decided to do these random marketing campaigns and try and rush my pipeline, and then that sort of created more stress and alienated, and it just went down and down and down, and it was just, yeah, not great. But, yeah, so just before I speak about how I handled it, human beings have this sort of inane sense of being able to detect other people's moods. So it's like a little exercise for the SDRs as well. Like when you're next on the sort of 6:30 Northern Line down to Tooting after work, look, if you're lucky enough to get a seat, that is, look at the person to the left of you or to the right of you and try and understand how their day has been without talking to them. And you'll actually get quite close, believe it or not, because people give away so much about their mood. And from an SDR perspective and a sales perspective, like that is really, really useful. If you're on a cold call or doing a cold marketing campaign, if you're a stressful person or you're letting that stress get to you, which is what I did, and that was leaking out, then they're going to run a mile. No one wants to buy from a stressful person. They want the path of least resistance. And even if your product is like the best in the world, it's not going to fly. You want to build that trust, that relationship with the customer, that long-term relationship. You want to get to the point where they'll call you up and you be their guy or girl for that thing. And you can only do that by having that stress-free. So I started to understand, all right, how can I really look into this? How can I try and understand where my stress is coming from, how it's leaking out into these calls? And as I got better and better at this, I noticed my numbers started to improve. Miracle, right? And I started then employing those tools to the customer and the merchant to the extent where if you're doing a cold call, you can detect to the best of your ability, all right, what's this call going to go? How do I need to speak to this person by the way they say hello? Is it, hello, what do you want? Or, you know, do you have to put on the charm? Is it a nice person? And like, building those that understanding will give you significant more success in those cold outreach bits, because if you have conflicting personalities, conflicting moods, then, you know, it's all going to go south. But yeah, so I began dynamically doing this, and it was sort of pairing these, and it went pretty well. But it is a constant work in progress. Unfortunately, there's no sort of cheat sheet or YouTube video or a super edgy book which you can read to sort of get it right. But like, I just wanted to share like 3 things that actually really got me through it and got me walking through this process. I'm really lucky to have a really great boss. Like, who else has got a good boss? Everyone should put their hands up. There we go, great. Right, I've got a really good boss. And my boss sort of walked me through this, and if it was anybody else, I mean, he probably would have sacked me off, but thanks for not sacking me off if you're out there, boss. He just literally outlined 3 very simple things. And honestly, like, when you're having, and you will have a bad month, you will, like, and the more money's on the line, the worse that month's gonna be. So trust me on this, you'll thank me for it later. But literally 3 super simple things. Just firstly, go back to basics. Like, super cool, like, videos on LinkedIn. It works, yeah? But I just went back to cold calling, just straight and simple, and it worked. Like, I went back to what I knew, what I was good at, and it was, yeah, it worked for me. The second thing is be patient. Like, your target's coming up. Everyone who works in sales and who has like an Apple Watch or some sort of date app just watches that number going up and up and up and up, and you're like, oh no, what's going on now? Like, please stop. But the number doesn't stop. But no matter how fast that number goes up, seemingly, don't rush. Because if you rush, then you will alienate your customer. And the next month, when you need to succeed and you need that deal to come through, it won't, because you've rushed it, tried to rush it through the previous month, and then, you know, you're really stuck. And the third and final thing is just don't be afraid to ask. If you're in a good place and you like the people who are around you and you trust them, just ask the question, because you're not going to know everything. Like, you will, if you're failing and you don't know why you're failing, ask someone, why am I failing? Like, it's just, and be brutally honest about it. And the last thing I wanted to cover very, very quickly is, as sales professionals, it's a very stressful job. There's a lot on the line. Like, if we stop, then companies' money stop. Like, people don't get paid their salary, you know. So there is actually a lot of responsibility on the line, and stress, if left unnoticed or untreated or ignored, will affect more than just your results. If you don't take advantage of it, learn from it, where your stress is leaking into, and try and take advantage of it, then it will actually take advantage of you. And honestly, there's worse things in the world than missing your target. And just don't let that happen, because yeah, it's a good role. Anyway, cheers.
That was amazing.